just
taller,
stretch me out and pull me out, and it's like that.
Sorry, so you're not communicating. So whatever your shapes are.
Oh my God, this is an incredible stance.
Yeah.
So high tech. I love it. All right. Okay.
When I received the project, when I got the project, I realized that this is a very set-specific project. And what is the most challenging about the project is the building, the architectural feature of the building itself. It's Art Deco style architecture, and it's really, really iconic and really historical, and it's also larger than life. And what I find most challenging about it is the windows on the building, because it creates a lot of textures. And it's also the most interesting part, because I see the window itself as an urban grid. And the original idea is to use this grid as a stage and to have the dance happen on the stage. One important scene we had in mind from the very beginning, which is, I think, the most important segment of the project, is we wanted to have a dance sequence that happened in a labyrinth of a city. And we wanted to film it with multiple cameras from different vantage points. And we wanted to have the dancers to kind of flow and pass in front of the camera, in front of each cameras, and to have dynamic gestures and interesting moments in front of all those cameras. So that's a very challenging setup for choreography. And it's also an interesting challenge for editing, once I received the raw footage. The project in total took about 2 years. Hannah and I started to discussing the story and the choreography of the project in the very beginning of early 2020, and we kind of did a few of like warm-up projects in between 2020 and 2021, and we started to kind of seriously planning for the choreography and the filming process, planning for the filming around the end of 2020.
The inspiration comes from a combination of my own training in contemporary and improvisational practice, combined with Yuge's kind of landmark expectations for the choreography. It was a 2-year process in investigating what the root of the movement should be. So it came from a very structured set of movement that Yuge had suggested, having gestural, more human influences, having more ethereal, energetic influences, and then a combination of the two. With the 2-year process, the way I see it now is more of a research process of what the choreography needed to be to accomplish all of the different chapters within the work, the 4 different chapters. In that 2-year exploration, Yuge and I had different seasonal installations for summer, fall, and winter. With the summer installation, we played with the idea of the back and forth conversation in the choreography. And that original series was between 2 dancers across a river. So there's this very clear separation and the necessity of patience and ebbing and flowing back and forth in the movement conversation with the 2. For the fall episode, we had the same concept with dancers across the river, and then played with the idea, I guess teased the idea of them coming close into proximity. We had a couple different ideas of either having this proximal in contact duet between the two, but we later decided that that needed to be kind of edged out. We didn't want that to happen right away. And that came into play in the final work for the Art in the Mart version of it all. For the winter, we waited for a whole blizzard storm to happen with a couple different days that we tried to shoot. But that was more about the patterns in which the dancers could explore, which introduced more of the maze labyrinth idea that Yuge had conceived. So in this whole research process of the choreography, we realized that the hide and seek was essential. The conversations back and forth between the dancers through movement was essential. Having this energetic ebb and flow, kind of a surrender, taking charge, negotiating through the body, that was very essential as well. And then, of course, the final duet in the end was the more of the encapsulating embodiment of the duet. Rebecca and Xavi are very professional, smart dancers that we are very privileged to work with. I actually know Rebecca through school, went to Columbia College Chicago, so I know her through that. Xavi, Yuge knew Xavi, so he was brought into the project, and he dances with the Joffrey Ballet. And while both of them are professional and extremely talented dancers, they're also very different in their practice. Rebecca comes from a more modern contemporary improvisational world, and Xavi comes from a very structured ballet performance world. So having this duality in their training was exciting to, one, have in the rehearsal space and work with these different bodies and how they approach the movement concepts. And then in the filming, in the studio for filming, it worked out to be a really nice balance of energy. There was a nice sense of play in the studio, and there was also a really nice sense of structure. So those two kind of contributed to that balance.
So an important thing we had in mind from the very beginning was that we wanted to have the two people moving in and out of a fragmented field of shapes as if they are playing hide and seek in a labyrinth of a city. So in order to achieve that scene, we need to set up cameras from different angles and different vantage points in the studio. And the dancers need to move in front of these cameras and create interesting and dynamic gestures from different vantage points in front of these cameras. So, which is a really challenging aspect for choreography and also challenging for editing. We did a lot of experimentations and rehearsals. And for me, the editing of this segment is like a secondary choreography. So it's kind of a really interesting creative collaboration with Hannah to achieve the final effect. This project has 4 chapters, and each chapter has its own mood. And what we wanted is to have the music for each segment to express its specific mood. When I select the sound artist Orizer, he sent me a small sample of his work, and I thought I really liked it, and I thought it's the right mood for the overall piece. We wrote down a lot of notes for him, and the two main things was really important for the sound is that it needs to convey the mood for each segment. And the second thing that is the tempo of the sound needs to work with the movement of the gestures of the choreography. I worked with a technical artist and a mentor from a New York-based organization called New Ink. And my mentor is James George. He guided me through finding the right technical artist and also the right type of effects. And what we did is to create, using the gestures of the dancers to create lines and patterns. And when they interact, and it's almost like a magnetic field, so that their aura, which is manifested by the lines around their bodies, kind of collides and interact and create interesting patterns and explosions and like lines around in the bodies to manifest that energy between the two people.
Love letters can tell anything to the public. That's why I enjoy this project so much, is that it can be universal. It can be a story about families across seas, like Yuge's intention. It can be between two lovers. It can be between two friends. But the universal idea is that there's negotiation that's essential in connection, and also an inevitability in connection sometimes. No matter how much you try to run or how much you want to run or feel like you need to run, sometimes you just end up in the same spot that you were maybe meant to be, or that you didn't know you were running to, but you were going to end up there in the first place. There's something intentional and also accidental about this work that I really appreciate. So I think that really is shown in the final product of Love Letters.